The wind came first, soft as breath, carrying the scent of red clay and rain. Then came the sound of the valley, drums far away, fading like an old dream. Every dusk, the sky above the Red Skirt Valley glowed the color of burning embers. The people said it was the spirit of the fire goddess Nira, dancing her slow dance of light. Her dance gave the tribe warmth, harvest, and stories. But now, the fires burned lower each season. The drums were quieter, and the children no longer remembered the words to the old songs. Among them was Nira, a young storyteller who had never seen the sacred fire dance with her own eyes. She lived with her grandmother, old Tali, in a round tent stitched from red and gold cloth. Every night before sleep, her grandmother would whisper stories about when the tribe still spoke with the stars. "Listen well," old Tali often said, tapping Nira's chest. "The heart remembers what the world forgets." Nira believed her, yet lately, even the stars seemed quiet. One evening, as the moon rose like a pale pearl, Nira followed the sound of water toward the edge of the valley. There, under the cliffs, she found an old drum half buried in sand. Its leather was cracked, and the paint of red skirts and flames had faded. When she touched it, the wind shifted. A whisper brushed past her ear, a voice so faint it felt like a sigh. "Find the song before the fire sleeps forever." Nira froze. "Who's there?" she whispered, but only the reeds moved. She brought the drum home. Her grandmother's eyes widened when she saw it. "This drum," Tali said softly, "was once played at the Firelight festival. It carries the memory of our ancestors. You were not meant to find it unless it was calling you." That night, Nira couldn't sleep. Clouds rolled across the valley, glowing faintly from within. One of them, small and slow, drifted low enough to touch the tents. It was called the Sleepy Cloud. A gentle watcher the tribe believed carried dreams between people and the stars. As Nira watched, the cloud paused above her tent, shimmering softly. A drop of dew fell from it onto her drum, and the leather hummed faintly. Nira closed her eyes, and suddenly she wasn't in her tent anymore. She stood in the middle of a vast plain under a red sky. Figures in flowing crimson skirts danced in circles around her, their laughter echoing like firelight. "Who are you?" she asked. "We are what your tribe has forgotten," said one of the dancers, her eyes glowing with warmth. "The song sleeps in your hands. Wake it, child of the ember moon." The dancers began to fade like mist. The last one whispered, "When the last flame flickers, seek the whispering tree beyond the valley. There the fire remembers its name." Nira woke with a start. The drum beside her still pulsed gently as if alive. When dawn came, Nira told her grandmother everything. Old Tali listened silently, then smiled with tears in her eyes. "The spirits chose you, little flame. Go where they lead. The valley will sleep unless someone remembers its heartbeat." Nira wrapped the drum in red cloth and set out as the first light painted the mountains. The wind was soft, the world hushed, as if waiting. As she walked, the sleepy cloud drifted above her, following quietly, like a slow guardian.
The morning sun rose shyly over the hills, painting the Red Skirt Valley in soft gold. Nira felt the warmth on her face as she climbed the narrow trail that wound toward the northern forest. Behind her, the sleepy cloud floated lazily, like a friend too drowsy to hurry. Every few steps, Nira looked back at the valley. The red tents, the fields, and the smoke from morning fires looked smaller and smaller. It was the only home she had ever known, and now she was leaving it to find something she could barely understand. A song from the past, a whisper from the fire itself. Her grandmother's words echoed in her heart. The heart remembers what the world forgets. By noon, Nira reached the edge of the forest. It was older than memory. The trees rose high as towers, their bark covered in silver moss. When the wind moved, their leaves whispered softly, so softly that if one listened closely, the words almost made sense. Nira stood at the border, holding her drum. "I seek the whispering tree," she said to the wind. "Can you show me the way?" For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a small path of light appeared between the trunks, leading deeper inside. Nira smiled nervously. "Thank you," she whispered, and stepped forward. The air grew cooler. The light fell in thin ribbons through the branches. Everywhere she looked, faces seemed to shimmer in the bark. Kind faces, watching her silently. The sleepy cloud followed overhead, squeezing between branches like a curious animal. Every now and then, it let out a low rumble, half a sigh, half a yawn, that made the leaves tremble gently. After hours of walking, Nira sat on a fallen log to rest. She placed her drum beside her and closed her eyes for a moment. Then she heard it, a soft, repeating song that sounded like her name. "Nira, Nira." She opened her eyes and saw a bright red bird sitting on a nearby branch. Its feathers shimmered like fire, and its eyes were deep black, full of memory. "Who are you?" Nira asked softly. "I am the bird of echoes," it said. Its voice was calm and slow, like wind through reeds. "I repeat what the forest remembers. You seek the whispering tree, yes?" Nira nodded eagerly. "Do you know where it is?" The bird tilted its head. "The tree listens only to those who bring truth in their hearts. You must first give something of yourself, something honest." Nira thought hard. She had no gold, no jewels, no fine cloth, only her drum and her voice. So she lifted the drum to her lap and began to play. Slowly at first, then gently, each beat steady as a heartbeat. She hummed a melody she half remembered from her grandmother's stories. It was not perfect, but it was true. The bird of echoes closed its eyes. The forest went silent, except for the soft sound of her drumming. When she finished, the bird opened its wings, scattering sparks of red light. "Your heart speaks clearly," it said. "Follow the sound of the oldest root. There you will find what you seek." As evening fell, the forest began to glow faintly with golden mist. The sleepy cloud drifted lower, curling around Nira like a blanket. She followed the path until she came to a clearing. At its center stood a massive tree with a trunk so wide that 10 people could not have circled it with their arms. Its bark was smooth and pale, and its roots spread like rivers through the soil. When the wind moved, their leaves whispered softly, so softly that if one listened closely, the words almost made sense. Nira stood at the border, holding her drum. "Great whispering tree," she said softly, "I came to find the song that my people have forgotten." The leaves rustled. Then a voice, low, ancient, and kind, spoke from within the trunk. "Child of Firelight, you carry the drum that once beat for the stars. But the song cannot return until all its parts are gathered. You must find the 3 voices of the flame." Nira clutched the drum. "Where are they?" The whispering tree sighed. "One hides in the waters of reflection. One waits in the caves of breath. And the last sleeps beneath the mountain of ash. Only when all are awakened will your people remember their fire." The forest grew silent again. Nira bowed her head. I will find them. Before she could turn away, the whispering tree's roots shifted gently, and a small seed rolled to her feet. It glowed with a soft red light. Take this, said the tree. Plant it where the fire is lost. It will grow when the song is whole again. Nira picked it up carefully and placed it in a small pouch. Thank you, she whispered. The sleepy cloud rumbled softly above, like a lullaby. As Nira left the clearing, she felt the forest watching over her, not with eyes of wood and moss, but with the quiet care of something ancient that believed in her. The bird of echoes followed for a while, repeating her song in its gentle voice. Heart of fire, keeper of flame, seek the waters, remember the name. And Nira smiled through the fading light, ready for the next step.
The night passed softly as Nira slept beneath the stars. The sleepy cloud hovered nearby, glowing faintly in the darkness like a gentle lantern. The bird of echoes had perched on a branch above her, its feathers dim but warm. When morning came, the forest was silver with dew. Nira rubbed her eyes and looked toward the east. Beyond the trees, she could hear the faint trickle of running water, the sound of a river calling her onward. She touched the red seed the whispering tree had given her. It pulsed faintly, warm against her palm. The first voice of the flame lies in the waters of reflection, she whispered. Then that is where I'll go. The sleepy cloud drifted lower, brushing against her shoulder like a friend saying, I'm coming too. The path led Nira out of the forest and down into a valley filled with mist. There, a river wound through the stones, clear as glass and so still that the sky seemed to float on its surface. Nira knelt beside it. She could see her reflection perfectly, but there was something strange. Her reflection didn't move when she did. It smiled softly, even as Nira blinked in surprise. Do not be afraid, said the reflection, its voice calm and kind. These are the waters of reflection. They show not who you are, but who you hide from yourself. Nira swallowed. I came to find the first voice of the flame. Do you know where it is? The reflection nodded. The flame speaks only to those who see clearly. To find it, you must remember what you have forgotten. The water shimmered, and images began to form. Scenes from Nira's life, her grandmother teaching her songs, the laughter of the tribe's children, the fading lights of the fire festival she had never seen. Then the images changed. She saw herself as a little girl, sitting beside her mother's bed. Her mother was weak, her voice barely a whisper. Never forget, little one, we are the fire and the wind. As long as you sing, I am with you. Nira felt tears rise in her eyes. She had forgotten that promise long ago. The reflection smiled gently. Now you see. The water began to ripple. Slowly, a faint glow appeared beneath the surface, a small flame burning underwater, impossibly bright and calm. Nira leaned closer. The flame whispered softly, its voice like music under the waves. Child of memory, your heart remembers. I am the first voice of the flame, the spirit of remembering. I will return with you. The flame rose from the water, wrapping itself around her drum in a spiral of light. When it faded, a faint ember remained at the center of the drum skin, glowing softly. Nira felt warmth spread through her hands, not a heat that burned, but one that comforted. The sleepy cloud hummed approvingly overhead, and the bird of echoes let out a quiet trill that echoed through the valley. You did well, said the reflection. But remember, Each voice you awaken will test not your strength, but your truth." "I understand," said Nira. "Thank you." The river went still again, and her reflection now moved with her once more. But this time, when she looked into her own eyes, she saw courage there. As Nira rose to leave, clouds gathered overhead, thin, shimmering clouds that seemed made of glass. They released a gentle rain that did not wet the ground, but instead left reflections floating in the air like droplets of light. Each raindrop showed faces from the tribe, smiling, laughing, dancing in red skirts. Nira reached out and touched one. It dissolved into a sparkle that melted into her skin. "You're sparkling," Nira giggled. The sleepy cloud twirled above her, catching bits of the mirror rain until it glowed even brighter. She felt lighter too, as if the sorrow she had carried since childhood had softened into something gentle and warm. When the rain faded, the world smelled of sweet earth and new beginnings. The river whispered softly behind her as Nira continued her journey west. The bird of echoes flooded onto her shoulder. "The next voice waits in the caves of breath, but beware, the caves listen more than they speak. You must learn to hear what silence is saying." Nira nodded. "Then I'll listen carefully." As she walked, the sleepy cloud floated low, its shape changing now and then. A fox, a swirl, a small red skirt dancing in the sky. And though the path ahead wound through shadows, the ember on her drum glowed gently, keeping the rhythm of her heart steady, brave, and true. That night, Nira camped beneath a lone tree near the river's end. The stars hung low, reflected perfectly in the still water. The sleepy cloud rested nearby, slowly dimming as if drifting into dream. Nira tapped her drum lightly, just one beat at a time. Each beat sent a tiny shimmer of red light across the water, as if calling softly to something beyond. "The first voice has awakened," she whispered. "Tomorrow I'll find the second." The wind moved through the leaves like a sigh of peace. The bird of echoes sang one last sleepy note before tucking its head under its wing. And Nira, holding the glowing drum close to her heart, closed her eyes beneath the stars that remembered. The dawn came slowly, painted with silver mist. The air smelled of wet stone and wild flowers. Nira packed her small bag, tied the drum to her shoulder, and whispered to the sleepy cloud that floated nearby. "Time to go again, my friend." The sleepy cloud stretched, yawned a soft rumble, and glowed gently in reply. The bird of echoes fluttered above them, leading the way. The path turned rocky now, rising into the hills. The grass grew shorter, and the air felt thinner. Every few steps, Nira could hear the faint sigh of wind moving through unseen cracks in the mountains. "The caves must be near," she murmured. As she climbed higher, the sound grew stronger, not a normal wind, but one that seemed to breathe in and out, slow and deep. It was as if the mountain itself was alive. By afternoon, Nira stood before a great cliff. In its side opened a dark, round mouth that pulsed gently with wind. Every exhale carried a cool mist. Every inhale drew leaves and dust into the shadows. Nira took a deep breath. "The caves of breath," she whispered. The bird of echoes landed on her shoulder. "Listen carefully in there. The second voice lies hidden among silence. Many enter, few truly hear." The sleepy cloud hovered near the entrance, glowing like a soft lamp. Nira stepped inside. At once, the air wrapped around her like a song with no words. Her footsteps echoed gently. The walls shimmered faintly with blue crystals that flickered as if breathing with her. She felt the drum's warmth against her chest, the faint ember from the first voice glowing like a heartbeat in the dark. The deeper she went, the quieter the world became. Even the sound of her footsteps began to fade, until it felt like she was walking through a dream. After a while, she came to a wide cavern filled with still air. At the center stood a shallow pool that mirrored the faint light of the crystals above. Nira knelt beside it. The sleepy cloud drifted behind her, careful not to disturb the silence. Then she heard it. A whisper so soft she almost thought it was her own breath. To find the voice of air, you must give your silence. Breathe with the world, not against it. Nira closed her eyes and obeyed. She placed her hand on the drum and began to breathe slowly, deep in, soft out, until her heart matched the rhythm of the cave. With each breath, the air grew warmer, the crystals brightened, the pool began to ripple, though no wind touched it. She breathed again. The drum pulsed faintly under her hand. Then from the stillness, a voice rose, a voice that was not spoken, but felt. I am the second voice of the flame, the spirit of listening. Those who truly hear carry peace wherever they walk. The pool glowed gold for a moment, and a thin stream of light swirled into her drum, joining the first ember. Now 2 small flames flickered together, steady and warm. Nira opened her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. The air sighed softly in return. Just as she stood to leave, a low rumble rolled through the cave. The walls trembled. A strong wind rushed from the tunnel ahead, carrying strange whispers. At first, Nira thought they were voices of spirits. But then she realized they were her own thoughts, echoing back at her. You will fail, one whisper said. You are too small, said another. They will forget you too. Nira pressed her hands over her ears, but the echoes grew louder. The bird of echoes called out, Do not fight them, listen. So Nira lowered her hands and stood still. The words swirled around her like a storm, cruel and cold. But slowly she began to notice something. Beneath all those echoes, there was another sound, quieter, truer, her own heart. It beat steadily, calmly beneath the noise. She tapped the drum once, thump, and the sound filled the air, clear and brave. Again, thump. The echoes wavered. A third time, thump. The wind softened, the voices faded, and the cave grew still once more. The sleepy cloud glowed bright again, wrapping her in a soft light. The bird of echoes fluttered close and whispered, You heard the silence. That is your strength. When Nira stepped back outside, the sky was painted with gold and lavender. She breathed deeply, feeling the air move through her as if she and the world shared the same lungs. The second voice is awake, she said softly. Now only one remains. The sleepy cloud drifted beside her, humming contentedly. The bird of echoes soared ahead, circling in the brightening sky. Far to the west, a dark mountain rose on the horizon. Its peak was gray and silent, shaped like an ancient sleeping giant. Smoke drifted faintly from its top. The mountain of ash, said the bird of echoes. That is where the last voice sleeps. Nira nodded. Then that's where we'll go. She touched the drum, feeling the twin embers glowing within it. Their warmth spread through her chest, calm and steady. As the 3 companions began their slow climb down the hill, the wind carried their laughter softly through the valley, like a song only the mountains could hear.
Days passed as Nira walked west through wide plains and dry winds. The green faded from the earth,
replaced by gray soil and scattered stones. The air smelled faintly of smoke, and even the sun looked softer behind a thin veil of ash. The sleepy cloud floated lower now, slower, as if tired from the long travel. Its glow dimmed in the dusty air, but it never left her side. The bird of echoes flew ahead, its red feathers dulling against the pale sky. "The land sleeps here," the bird said quietly. "The mountain remembers fire, but it has not breathed flame in 100 seasons." Nira nodded, clutching her drum close. She could feel the 2 small embers glowing inside it, the voice of remembering and the voice of listening, guiding her onward toward the final spirit. At the base of the mountain, the air shimmered with heat. Thin trails of gray smoke rose from cracks in the ground. Every step Nira took left a faint print of ash. She stopped by a small spring bubbling weakly from a stone and filled her flask. The water tasted strange, warm, metallic, but it soothed her throat. "Do you think the last voice will be hard to find?" she asked softly. The bird of echoes landed beside her. It said, "The last voice is the most silent of all. It does not hide, it waits. It listens to see if your fire still burns." The sleepy cloud let out a low hum, as if agreeing. Nira looked up at the mountain. Its peak was wrapped in dark mist. "Then I'll climb," she said simply. The trail twisted upward, steep and quiet. Loose stones slid under Nira's feet. Her clothes were gray with dust, her breath short, but the rhythm of her steps matched the beat of her drum, slow, steady, alive. At times, small sparks flickered in the cracks of the ground, glowing red for a moment before fading away. The sleepy cloud drifted near them, curious, letting a few sparks land on its misty body. Each one shimmered like a tiny star inside it. Halfway up the mountain, Nira stopped to rest. The bird of echoes perched on a rock and began to sing softly, an echo of the forest wind and the whispering river. Nira smiled. "You remember everything, don't you?" "I only repeat what matters," said the bird. She tapped her drum once, and the ember lights inside brightened. "Then maybe that's what I'm learning, to remember what truly matters." By evening, Nira reached a wide cave near the top. The air inside was warm, glowing faintly red. She stepped carefully, her footsteps muffled by soft ash. In the center of the cavern stood a pool, not of water, but of molten stone. The lava glowed like slow-moving light, calm but alive. Its heat shimmered through the air, yet it did not burn her. The sleepy cloud hovered at the edge of the pool, turning gold in the glow. The bird of echoes perched on a ledge, silent. Nira held up her drum. "Spirit of the flame," she said gently, "I have come to find the third voice. My people's fire is fading, and I wish to wake it again." The pool rippled. A deep voice rose from within, not loud, but strong enough to make the whole mountain hum. "You have remembered, and you have listened. But before the flame can return, you must learn to let go." Nira frowned slightly. "Let go of what?" "Fear, doubt, even sorrow. Fire cannot live in a heart full of shadows." Suddenly the cave filled with smoke. The ground trembled. Nira saw visions forming in the smoke. Her home, her grandmother's tent, the people she loved. Then the visions turned dark. The tents empty, the fire pits cold, the tribe scattered by time. A voice inside her whispered, "You cannot save them. The past is gone." Her heart ached. For a moment, she wanted to turn back. But then she remembered her grandmother's words. The heart remembers what the world forgets. She closed her eyes and struck her drum once. The ember flared. Again, dum. The second flame joined the beat, soft but strong. A third time, dum. From the lava a spark lifted into the air and circled her. Then another, then many. They danced like small stars, surrounding her in warmth and light. The voice spoke again, gentler now. "I am the third voice of the flame, the spirit of courage. You have faced your fear and kept your fire alive. Take me with you." The sparks swirled together and flowed into her drum. Now all three flames glowed as one, a steady red light that filled the whole cavern. The mountain sighed, and the trembling stopped. When Nira stepped out, the first light of dawn was spilling over the horizon. The ash-covered valley shimmered faintly, as if waking from a long dream. The sleepy cloud floated beside her, glowing brighter than ever, its soft mist reflecting the red sunrise. The bird of echoes circled above, calling joyfully. Nira smiled, tired but peaceful. The three voices are one again. Now I must return home and give the flame back to my people. The mountain gave a low, kind rumble, as if saying farewell. Nira looked back once more, then began her descent. Each step left a faint glow on the ground, a trail of tiny lights marking her path down the sleeping mountain.
The journey back to the Red Skirt Valley was long, but the road no longer felt heavy. Nira's drum now glowed softly with three tiny flames that moved in harmony, whispering their warmth through her hands. The sleepy cloud drifted above her, brighter and fuller than before. The bird of echoes sang familiar notes from the trees and stones they passed, weaving memories into song. Everywhere she walked, the land seemed to wake. Dry grass turned greener, streams began to sparkle again, and the wind carried the faint rhythm of a heartbeat, as if the valley was remembering itself. Nira smiled. "We're almost home," she whispered. The sleepy cloud let out a soft purr of mist, and the bird of echoes replied, "Home waits for the fire's return." When Nira reached the edge of the valley, the sun was setting. The tents of the Red Skirt tribe stood quiet, their red cloth faded to brown. Smoke no longer rose from the fire pits, and the air felt cold even under the orange light. Old Tolly, her grandmother, sat outside her tent, her eyes tired but gentle. When she saw Nira, she gasped, then smiled through tears. "My little flame, you came back," she whispered. Nira knelt and hugged her tightly. "Grandmother, I found them, the three voices of the flame, remembering, listening, and courage. The fire can live again." Old Tolly's hands trembled as she touched the drum. The soft red light warmed her palms. "Then it's time, child. The tribe must gather one last time before the stars rise." That night, for the first time in many seasons, the people of the Red Skirt tribe came together in the valley's heart. They stood in a great circle, the moon shining pale and curious above them. Nira stood at the center, the glowing drum in her hands. The sleepy cloud floated overhead, drifting slow and bright like a spirit lantern. The bird of echoes perched nearby, silent but watching. She took a deep breath. Then she began to play. Thum, thum, thum. At first the sound was soft. Then it grew, not loud, but steady, full of warmth.
The ground shimmered faintly beneath her feet. The air rippled with quiet light. Old Tolly raised her voice in song, her tone shaking but sure. Others joined, men, women, children, voices blending until the valley itself seemed to hum. The fires that had been dead for years sparked to life again, one by one, burning bright red and gold. The people danced, their red skirts swirling like petals in the wind. Nira's drum glowed brighter with each beat until a beam of warm light rose from it and touched the sky. The sleepy cloud caught the light, glowing fully now, no longer tired, but radiant. And the stars above seemed to shimmer in rhythm, as if the universe itself was listening to the song of Firelight. When the dance ended, the night was calm again. The air was warm, alive. The people laughed and wept, embracing one another. Old Tolly came to Nira and placed a small hand over her heart. "You have done what none before you could," she said softly. "You have given us back our song, not from strength, but from love." Nira looked around at the glowing fires, the joyful faces, the sleepy cloud drifting low over the valley like a blanket of peace. She said, "The fire was never gone. It was only waiting for someone to remember." Later that night, when the fires burned low and everyone was asleep, Nira sat on a hill watching the sky. The sleepy cloud floated beside her, quiet and content. She spoke softly. "You followed me all the way, didn't you?" The sleepy cloud shimmered gently, glowing like the memory of a dream. The bird of echoes landed nearby and whispered, "The fire will never fade again, as long as someone listens." Nira smiled. "Then the world will stay warm." She closed her eyes, listening to the wind carry the last echoes of the song through the valley, whispers of hope, courage, and love. Above her, the sleepy cloud stretched across the stars, wrapping the night in soft silver mist. It carried the dreams of the Red Skirt tribe and the promise that their fire would never be forgotten again. And somewhere in the quiet sky, the fire goddess Sira smiled, her dance of light beginning once more.